Good afternoon. You guys are here with Calvin Metlock with Program 9 Baseball Podcast. Today we're going to be focusing on talking about pitching. We're going to focus on topics where we're going to discuss pitcher's routine, pitcher's fastball, location, off speed, pitching to strength, and of course, the changeup. One of the things that I do want to touch on first before we get into it is understanding the mechanics of baseball, being a pitcher. Understanding the mechanics of the pitcher is something that I think as a youth program, as a youth model, pitchers, young pitchers need to understand the importance of balance and direction. Okay. Your balance point is what's going to get you started with the emotion, with your mechanics. It keeps everything intact. From a balance point, you want to make sure that your body is 70% over the rubber. Okay. Your direction is always going to start with your glove side. And so your direction, your glove side, you want to make sure that you stay close on it. Want to make sure that you reach, you're out front, everything is balanced and is going at a downhill plane toward the catcher. Your front side, you want to have a strong front side. That's your glove side. That's with this front elbow up. You want to make sure that you're not leaking, you're not pulling, you're not yanking, whatever term you would like to use is fine. Anything that's pulling away from home plate instead of pulling your body toward home plate. Your backside, that's gonna always be one of the last key deals is making sure that you're using that back leg drive to make sure you can generate all that power pushing off the rubber. And then once your front foot hits, you almost want to be you almost want to stake that foot into the ground and use that force coming off your backside to follow through. Okay. When you finish out front, you want to finish out front, chest forward. You want to keep your chin on target, aligned with your front shoulder, everything going downhill. Okay. So that's my levels to knowing your mechanics. It's going to be balanced direction, front side, back side, finishing out front. Okay. As we get into this podcast for today, we're going to start off with the pitcher's routine. It's very key that we understand what a routine is. Uh, Everybody's routine different. Nobody routine should be the same. Um, you have to do what works for you. I know for me, when I was coming up, I had a set routine where I had to run a little bit to get a sweat going. Then I stretched. Then I did bands. Then I did a flat ground routine in high school. I did a flat ground routine when I did played pro ball. That was a big thing for me for my mental. I felt like that if I didn't do it, something was off. And so once I understood what my routine was, it became very important that I did it on a daily basis, weekly basis pitching, but a daily basis, making sure that I was focused enough, disciplined enough to make sure that that routine was going to get done one way or another. Okay, so for me, some of the key points that I'm going to point out today is going to be very simple. Um, I think for the most part, when we are talking about routines, the first thing they say is, "Okay, I stretch, I throw." Okay, that's kind of the basics. Some players like to do the plyo ball, some like to do a med ball, some like to do the Jaeger band, some like to do the crossover routine. Um, Nothing is in concrete. Okay, so your routine, whatever you have to do to warm up prior to throwing, that's your routine. Okay, you have a catch routine. I, I know for me, it was 10 throws, move back every you know, 10 or 15 feet, 10 or 12 throws, move back all the way until my partner got to center field. Once he got to center field, I kind of threw change ups. At times, I threw my breaking ball, long toss with it, and then as we moved it back in, I always went to a burnout routine. So I take about 5 throws and I shuffle, and I'm trying to throw it as hard as I can through his chest. That allows me to make sure that I get my extension out front. That allows me to make sure that I'm airing it out and I'm good and loose. After that catch routine, I did a flat ground. I did a very short flat ground. It was five fastballs, 4 changeups, 4 breaking balls, 2 fastballs, and my fastballs went. We always put a hat down, and I tried to throw 2 on the left, 2 on the right, 1 in the middle. And that was my routine. On a changeup, I tried to throw it right over the hat. On a breaking ball, I tried to throw it to the left of the hat. And then my last 2 fastballs, right down the middle, split the hat right down the middle. Okay. So that was my routine leading up to going to the bullpen to get loose when I was a starter. And then I had a 36 warm up routine, which I did. Um, and it kind of stayed with me. And as I got through my routines over the years, it became more crisp, it became faster, and it kind of became second nature to me. Okay. Weekly workouts. If anybody knows me, I'm real big on staying consistent. And so for me, for pitchers, youth pitchers, college pitchers, high school pitchers. One of the main things that I can tell you guys, you got to stay consistent with your routine, your bullpens, your arm care. Stay consistent with your workouts week in and week out. That's how your body is going to be able to bounce back from pitching on the weekend. And then once you go through the week, you're going to have less stress on your arm if you stay on a weekly routine workout. Okay. The biggest thing that I think young youth pitchers do is when they have a long weekend, they want to take a couple of days off, which is fine. Rest is needed. I think how you rest is more important as to how you work. And so for me, if you have a heavy weekend and you have practice on Monday or practice on Tuesday, you necessarily don't have to play catch those 2 days. Um, it's okay to play light catch, but my recommendation is probably do a little more conditioning warm up, meaning maybe you get to practice early, or when you get to practice, you ask the coach, can you run a couple of laps, or maybe you run for 10 minutes, but you have to get a sweat going. I think wearing sleeves to help enhance the sweat, to get the blood flow to go. That's what you are trying to create. You're trying to create the blood flow in your shoulders. You gotta remember your arm is going down, so you're trying to get blood flow up. Okay. Only way to do that, you have to work your arm to get it ready for the next day or so, or the next weekend, or to make sure that you can bounce back from the weekend prior to that. Okay, so that arm care, the conditioning for it, making sure that you understand what's an injury and what's soreness. Soreness is fine. Okay, if it's something where you're a little tight, you're fine. If it's something where it hurts to even get to that level, when you're trying to actually throw, that's not a good thing. That's not a good sign. That's why your warm up routine and your playing catch routine is very important on a day to day basis, not just on the day you throw, not just on the day you throw your bullpen. Like, it's very important that becomes second nature to you, it becomes a it becomes something that you have to understand. You have to stay consistent at your warm up. Okay, it has to be one of those things. Okay, so with the pitcher's routine, we talk about the warm up, we talk about the catch routine, we talk about the flat ground, we talk about the bullpen warm up and the weekly workouts. Okay, um, the last thing is making sure that you understand your routine. I always tell players just write it out, put it out on paper, make sure that you can understand it, and make sure that it's almost like your laws that you have to follow. So these are your guidelines. You wrote it. This is something that you believe in. You can get help from coaches, help from your peers as to what they do. And when you watch someone that you kind of look up to, you kind of see what they're doing, and you ask questions: why you do this, how does this help, stuff like that. That's going to make you a better player. It's going to help you prepare yourself to get ready to pitch on a week to week basis. So these routines are great for youth guys to start really understanding this about 12, 13, 14. It's very important for high school guys to understand that this is needed for you to be successful to make it to the next level. Okay. And then college guys, it's almost a no brainer. You have to have all these routines in check. You have to know after college, you potentially could be getting paid to pitch. And it's very important that you understand this now could become your job. It has to be understood that this is now a little bit of your way of life. So again, these are your laws, these are your guidelines. You write them up, and it's your routine. Nobody can make your routine for you. You have to go what feels good to you, what feels good to the body, and just roll with it. Okay. The next thing that we're going to talk about is pitcher's location with the fastball. I can't express how important it is to dominate the strike zone with your fastball. Um, Dominating the strike zone with your fastball is going to allow you to miss a little bit more and get a strike call. That's one. Okay. Two is going to allow you to miss out of the zone with your off speed. That's the reason I say that. If you're a strike thrower and you are consistently throwing strikes and you throw a breaking ball that's short, I'm probably going to say 9 times out of 10 you will get a swing. That's almost a given. If you are not throwing your fastball for strikes, and for some reason you throw a breaking ball and it's tight and it's good and it's low in the zone, the hitter is probably not going to swing. Two things that has happened there. Right now, that hitter is not geared up to hit because he knows you're struggling finding the zone with a fastball. Um, the umpire is not going to give you a close strike because he's not in the mode of calling strikes. Your defense, they fall asleep behind you, so less plays will be made. Um, and your catcher, and sometimes he will get lazy. Okay, if there's study chasing balls left, right, up, down, stuff like that, um, your, your catcher might have an issue or two with that ball that's like bam right there. Okay, so your fastball location is very important that you dominate the strike zone. It could be down the middle, it could be low and away, it could be inside, but you want to make sure that your fastball is about 65, 75% strikes. I know that percent may be high. Um, I was a strike thrower through my career. So for me, if you want to be successful at youth, um, high school, especially college, you have to dominate the strike zone with your fastball. Okay. How do we do that? For me, I think keeping the front shoulder closed, keeping the chin on target. Um, you don't want to pull too much. You want to try to stay centered as much as possible. Um, I hear guys that say stay in the hallway, stay on the highway, whatever the term is for you. Picture this: you you have the rubber, okay, and let's just draw lines all the way to home plate from the rubber. If you can stay within those lines all the way, you have a better chance of keeping that ball in the strike zone. Or you have a chance at least throwing it over the strike zone or over the plate, whether it's up or down. Okay. Your hips staying closed as you move forward. So when you start your leg kick down, okay, you want to make sure that that front knee and those hips don't fly open. Okay. I think early on, working with young kids that are 9, 8, 9, 10, that's one of the things that I see as a bigger flaw and an issue regarding the delivery coming down from the balance point. Um, there are easy drills to correct all these. I just think from a youth standpoint, we have to keep it simple. I heard a saying from a buddy of mine that coaches in Houston, and shout out to Archie. He he said, when you start your leg kick, I want you to act like you're pushing a nail down into the ground. And when he said it, I said, that's exactly what you want to do, because now this allows the young player arm to catch up instead of leaking forward. Now we go and drag. Now the elbow is low, they're pushing, but in reality, they're rushing. Okay. So when they are able to start down first with their leg kick, they're able to let their arm come up. And this is how we keep these guys healthy. Okay. So keeping your hips closed when you start forward, for me, is more so beneficial for the youth player, the high school player, is you start down first. And when you start down, you break your hands, you can attack the zone a little bit better. Okay. So for the pitching today, 101, the first two things we talked about: pitcher's routine, uh, pitcher's location with the fastball. Next step that we're going to talk about the off speed. The biggest thing I think that we can take from off speed is understanding every off speed pitch is a field pitch. And so that means you have to understand 70, 65%. You want to feel that pitch out front before you try to take it up to about 80 to 90% as far as how hard you're trying to throw with the intent to throw. Okay. I've always said I'm going to throw my change up about 75% to make sure that I get that good feel out front, because the movement of the ball is going to dictate the swing. Okay. So if the changeup is too hard, let's say I have a 12U kid that's throwing 65, we call it changeup, and his changeup is 63, it's going to get hit, um, because there's not enough speed difference, and you're probably not going to get as much movement out of it because of the velocity that you have on it. Okay. So when you throw in a changeup, Uh, you don't want to use your backside as much. Okay. That's number one. I always tell guys to have a dead backside. Okay. That's going to allow you to still have the maximum arm speed that's going to actually sell the pitch. And so when we go 70%, 60%, we're talking about, you know, leg drive. So you want to kill your legs, you want to slow it all down. Okay. The release point for me is going to always be out over the nose. And so most young kids, when they release, they want to release here instead of getting out front more. Okay, so for me, I want the ball to be out front. Okay, that's for the most part, that's where we're working. We want to work out front. Okay, out over our nose. Um, how you want to teach it? I don't like to teach young kids to pronate. I think the older guys, when they understand pronate is here, a young kid, he thinks pronate is here. As you can see, there's more turn there instead of the the fingers turning off the ball. And so for me, the teaching of the changeup, I taught a kid yesterday, Monday, about the wax on, wax off. I taught him about pulling down the blind that away. I think those are some of the key things that you can work on with your pitchers. If you try to teach them a change up, I always say kill your backside and work behind the ball and work down. Okay. Um, as they get older, we can start to have that conversation of let's pronate. Uh, that's fine. Um, but I still feel that that's a risk that you take of getting a young player hurt. Okay. Under control with all speeds. The main thing is, the finish. A lot of guys are finish on their front foot, but their weight is going outside of their knee instead of over their knee. And so we want to make sure that it's very important that you work down out front. And if you're throwing a slider, you want your fingertips at the catcher. Okay. If you're throwing a breaking ball, whether it's a knuckle curve out front, whatever the case may be, you want to make sure that that's where you want to be, right there. And so the main key to throwing your off speed is making sure that you're under control at your finish point. Okay, pitching to strength. Young pitchers, anything that you want to do in baseball, pitching on a mound, you have to always go with your strength, and you have to have confidence in it. It doesn't matter whether you have walked a couple of guys or it doesn't matter whether you have walked a couple of guys, anything like that. It's still one of those things where you have to understand that the speed is making sure that you're under control. You have to understand that the main thing that you want to do is never lose your confidence. Okay. Your confidence is going to be what's going to bring you to your strength. Okay. Um, focus, mental focus on it. Pitching to your strength is about knowing that I'm focused on my strength, knowing that everything that's going wrong, I'm about to create a different energy and I'm about to get directly back into the zone. Okay. Understanding what pitch is working also. I've had pitchers where I'm calling pitches and their fastball is not there today. And I start calling changeups. Well, when I start calling changeups, we start throwing strikes. So now that I have gotten him back in the strike zone, now I still want to go back to his strength of what made him the pitcher that he is up until this point. Okay. Strengths can kind of change on a day-to-day basis, pitch-to-pitch basis. Weekends, that is, that they're pitching. One weekend, a changeup might be working. The next weekend, the breaking ball might be working. But you have to find a way to do one thing, and that's dominate the strike zone with your fastball. And again, it can be down the middle, it can be away, preferably away. Okay. But if it's down the middle and we're able to throw strikes, that's going to keep your team in the ball game. Okay. Situations and counts, that's always going to be a big thing, knowing where you're going to throw the ball. Okay. You have to know at some point the situation is also going to dictate what pitch you throw. Okay. I'll give you a example. We had a base open. First base was open. I had a aggressive hitter at the plate. I had a 3-2 count. The pitcher at the time, he was kind of struggling with his fastball. It was good enough to throw, but I knew the hitter was sitting on a fastball. His breaking ball, he was throwing for a strike at a great percentage. So with a base open, with one out, I'm not afraid to walk him because now we're playing 60-90. This is 13U. We're playing 60-90. The likely of them stealing was slim with the guy's second. So the double play is going to stay in order. If a ball from the next guy was hit to the outfield, the guy's second wasn't going to score. Slow runner. And so at that point, that situation told me, and the count told me, that if I throw a breaking ball and he gets it anywhere close to the zone, this kid is probably going to swing and miss. I throw the breaking ball. It was low. He swung and missed. To me, that was a situation, and the situation of the game and the count dictated, okay, this is the pitch I'm going to throw. If I throw a fastball, who knows what happens? He may strike him out. He may walk him. Kid may hit a double. We don't know. But for me, I took the chance of knowing the count, the situation, which for me, the situation was first base open, slow run at second. I'm going to take my chances with the breaking ball, and then I'm going to take my chances with a double play. That's exactly how I'm thinking. That's not what happened, but I think it would have happened because the next guy hit a ground ball. So that works. Okay. The changeup, we're going to talk about the changeup. As of now, we have spoke on the pitcher's routine, the pitcher's location. We spoke on the fastball. The fastball location. We have also spoke on off-speed, pitching strength, and now we're going to talk about the changeup. Okay. For me, I really think that when we're talking about the changeup, I think it's very, very important that we understand that the changeup is about balance, grip, leg drive, and finish. Okay, that's low leg drive. And so when we talk about this, the importance of understanding the balance side, because as of right now, when you're throwing your changeup, you want to make sure your balance and grip is on point. Okay, because we can't rush the changeup. Okay, we want to make sure that when we are trying to throw the changeup, it's a location thing. I tell my guys, just throw it right down the middle. Don't try to do nothing different. Don't try to do nothing special. Work down the middle, work down in the zone. Make sure that you have low leg drive, meaning do not push off the backside as hard. Okay. Give it a little bit of a harder drag, work out front, and at the end at all costs, just make sure you finish down out front. Okay. I will be doing a whole segment on just the changeup. I think youth players, I think if they learn how to throw a changeup first, I think that's a big deal. I think they can understand that the pitchers, the pitcher deal throwing a changeup is something that um, is something that the hitters they're not going to be able to lay off of. A good changeup will always beat the younger hitters. It's I've seen it done over and over. It's one of those things where, for me, once you learn it, I think it's very important that you work on it at home, you work on it at practice, you work on it in bullpens. That's a huge thing. Okay. Um, the the biggest the biggest thing is also understanding that um, when you're doing when you're doing the changeup and you're throwing it in game, it's very important that you work down. Okay, very important. Give me 1 second. So as we talked about before, knowing your level of mechanics, knowing your balance over the rubber, knowing your direction, knowing your front side, your back side, and finishing out front. Those are some of the things that we want to make sure that everything's out front. You know, the next step is learning your pitcher's routine, which is something that we talked about. Your play catch routine, your flat ground routine, your fastball location routine. That is something that you want to make sure that you keep you keep on the forefront of what you're doing as a youth pitcher, high school pitcher, um, college pitcher, pro ball pitcher. Y'all on a different level. You guys getting paid to play. It's your job. It's part of the reason that you wake up. You wake up to work out. You wake up to run. You wake up to throw. You wake up to do a routine. Okay, like that's what's driving you right now. And for those young guys that are inspired to play professionally, college, your routine, starting as a youth pitcher or hitter, um, you have to buy into your own routine. Routines are not easy. You have to be consistent. You have to be disciplined. You have to know what works for you, and you can't be afraid to keep adding or taking away for something that doesn't work. If it's something that you feel, okay, this is not working, don't be afraid to switch. Don't be afraid to um, alter what your routine is. Okay, I know when I was playing pro ball, I changed my workout schedule, and for me, it was just on the strength of I really I really needed to change how I worked out, and so for me, I started doing yoga. And I really feel that once I started doing yoga, I feel that's when my career actually peaked a little bit. Um, the next year, I went from throwing, 92, 90 to 93. The next year is when I topped out at 90 and 96. And then my consistent velo that went from 90 to 93 was now 93 to 95. And so I think changing your routine at some point is needed. Um, I like to I like to call it like the when you work out at the gym, and if you do the same thing for 3 4 months, you kind of your body stops to grow, um, and then once you change it, you have to shock it. And so, what I do with my pitchers that I work with, I always change up every 3 4 months, whatever shoulder program they have. That way, that they're constantly growing, but they're growing at a rate that's not too fast. And so, being consistent uh, with a velo range, that's more important to me than having a big peak. And so for me, that tells me that your arm is starting to get in shape, and it's getting endurance, and it's getting there. Okay. Um, Couple of things that I am going to talk about um, is mainly some band routines. I think it's very knowledgeable for young players to understand that you know there's a lot of information out there, and I think for the most part, if we can get on the same page as to what is good for youth players, I think the best band routine that's very simple is going to be the Jaeger bands. I think I like the crossover. I grew up on the Jaeger band program. I think it's a great program. My guys are now starting to do it. I normally do it, from like May to about September, and then I go back to the crossover from about October to about February, and then I kind of give them March and April off as far as from really doing bands. We do the plyo ball routine. We kind of work out there, but these routine parents, players, coaches, whoever's listening in, I think these the Jaeger band. It's to me is very simple. Um, I feel like if if you want to really work, I think the exercise, 5 and 6. I think those are some of the best exercises that you can do. Exercise 4, I think that's a great exercise. I think it keeps everything tight. It helps you. Um, It helps you build those muscles that's going to allow you to throw at a consistent speed and stay healthy. Okay. Um, I think also doing exercise 8 and 9, exercise 10, those are things that I feel it should be, part of, a lot of players' routine. I think those exercises are what's going to help build, you know, the player, on strength. Those things really took off for me when I started to understand, what the arm care meant. Uh, and once I got the pro ball, I really understood. Okay, for me to stay healthy, um, doing certain things is a must. And conditioning, that's one. Long toss, that's two. Your band routine is three. And one of the things that I think a lot of people talk about, but it's not really pushed, is players getting their core work in. Okay. Your core, that's your foundation. that's where, for me, I think that's where uh, your core, that's your foundation to where if you have a weak core, it's going to be tough to balance. It's going to be tough to stay engaged in the game because now your body is getting tired. I push a lot of my players and a lot of guys that work with me on pitching. I push them to football. I think football brings a different mindset. It makes them a little bit mentally tough, physically tough. Um, I think it works both sides. I was one of the guys that I was a quarterback in high school. I've always played football. I think it helped me become a better pitcher. It helped me become aggressive. It helped me do a lot of things on a baseball field that I feel mentally if I didn't play football, I'm not sure where I would have been from a mental state, you know. And so with all of that being said, today's podcast is basically about, what we talked about, pitching 101. It's very, I think pitching can be very simple. I think at times we make it hard. The biggest thing that I see youth is inconsistency with the training, with the workouts. And I think if they understand what they are trying to do from a routine standpoint, that could help understand, okay, this is what I need to do on Monday. Okay, Tuesday, I need to do this. We have practice. Wednesday, we need to do this. Thursday, all right, is it an off day or just a practice day? And then Friday, is it more of a maintenance day, get ready for the weekend type day? However, you want to arrange that, that's fine. It just needs to be consistent. That's the catch. The catch is being consistent, doing it on a week to week basis. And that's the message that I try to send all my players. I try to send all my parents. Just be consistent. You're gonna have good weekends, you're gonna have bad weekends. That's fine. Chalk that up. It's gonna happen. It's baseball. But the last time I checked after a Sunday game, the next day is Monday. And we get back to work on Monday. And we get back to work on Monday knowing we got to get ready for the next week. Okay. So thank you guys for tuning in. It's Calvin Medlock with Program 9 Baseball Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next week, we're going to talk about outplay and base running with Rodney McCray. Crash, he's my guy. He's been with me going on 10 years. He's going to bring a lot of energy, a lot of knowledge to what outfield and how important it is with outfield play at youth baseball, high school, and college. Okay. Signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Any questions, anything you need, you're more than welcome to send me an email, text. Everything is going to be below. Um, you can send me a text below from there. And as we get going on a week to week basis, I will have some open discussions and questions for parents, for players, anything like that. And hopefully, this was some valuable information. Stay tuned next week, Monday. Thank you.